Are you feeling scared to post on social media and to put yourself out there? Are you worried about what to say, about messing up, about people judging you? Well, you're not alone. Every single PT and clinician that I have ever coached has always felt the exact same way when they first got started, including this one right here. But, if you want to build your practice and you want to find clients and have clients find you have to put yourself out there. So, in this video, we are going to be talking about super simple mindset strategies to help you overcome the fear and anxiety about starting to put yourself out there, especially with regards to social media and digital marketing, so that you can start to grow your business as fast as possible. If you're new here, my name is Morgan, and I'm a physical therapist and the head coach at DPT to CEO, which is a business coaching program for clinicians just like you who are looking to get into the cash-based model and they want to start a solo practice and just overall build a life that they love and build a business that will fit into their lifestyle and help them do the things that they want to do and have more time, flexibility, and also enjoy the way that they're treating patients. So if that sounds like something that you might be interested in, if you are interested in building a business and life of your dreams and you'd like some coaching and help along the way, definitely check out the resources and the links that we have down below. And we are currently accepting applications for students to the program, and we'd love to hear from you. So let's talk a little bit more about social media and fear. I know when I first started getting into digital marketing, like I almost felt like kind of silly doing it, like posting about my brand new business and posting information and tips and education about different like physical therapy related things. It felt silly, especially with like a very small audience. And so like that kind of like silliness, I guess, and like fear of judgment and fear of putting myself out there, often it would like stop me from showing up. And then the more days and the more weeks that went on where I didn't show up for my business and announce every single day that I am a business and I am ready to take clients, the more that things just kind of like stalled out with the practice, like it wasn't really going anywhere. But as soon as I started to take the marketing seriously and I worried a lot less about what other people thought, but also I started worrying less about like where the clients were going to come from and more so focused on what I could do on a daily basis and what I had control over. Especially in terms of marketing, you have a lot of control over that. I focused on a daily basis on what I could do and what I could take action on. That ended up resulting in the biggest growth that I've ever seen in my business. And that is really what I want for you. And so in this video today, I want to really talk through a lot of like mindset-y kind of stuff because we have to really like squash all of those fears and limiting beliefs because they are going to hold you back in a lot of ways. And if we want to succeed in building a practice, we just don't have time to listen to the limiting beliefs, And so as we get into this, I will say it is going to take some time to practice, like coaching yourself through these things. And that's why having the support of a coach can be helpful so that you don't have to do it on your own. But if you are doing it on your own, just remember to both hold yourself accountable on a daily basis to the things that we're going to talk about, but also be gentle and compassionate with yourself because it is going to be a lot of ups and downs. The important piece is that we just keep going. So like I was saying at the beginning, one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video, and we're actually going to be doing a series on social media and digital marketing and conquering like the fear and the mindset around it, is because for the last probably about like 6 months or so, with every single clinician who's starting their own practice, that is like one of their number one fears is figuring out how to use social media to get clients, how to put themselves out there. And they're like really worried about it. And I totally understand. It is something that has taken me a long time to become more comfortable with. And so, if that's you, if that is something that you feel like you are just terrified of, is getting into like posting on Instagram and what if people see it and just all these like what ifs, just know that you're not alone. This video is for you. And one of the like biggest things that we have to remember here is I guess, like, a couple of things. I can tell you, don't expect to be perfect, and your clients don't expect you to be perfect. But more than that, I want to, I guess, like, put the disclaimer out there and let you know that when you first get into posting on social media and creating content, it's going to be not good. Unless you're like the 1% where you can make a piece of content for the first time and it's amazing, most likely, just like me, when you first start making content, it's not going to be good. So if we set the standard right from the get-go where the bar is on the ground, I think that helps to take a lot of pressure off of you when it comes to creating content. Because if we set the expectation that it's not going to be good, but we're going to post it and we're going to do it anyway, every single time after that, it becomes a little bit easier because we're just raising the bar about an inch off of the ground. Instead of setting the expectation right from the get-go that you're going to create like the absolute like best quality content ever, it's just not realistic when you're first getting started. And more than that, when it comes to like posting content, people are not looking for something that is absolutely perfect. You are going to get more engagement because it's going to be more relatable than something that is super perfect. And with this, another piece that I wanted to talk about, and I got this from Layla Hormozy, has been posting about it a lot, like the concept of imposter syndrome, because I know that that is a thing that comes up for people when it comes to posting on social media. Is like, well, like, who am I to share this information? Like, what if it's not 100% correct? Or, like, I've only been a physical therapist for like 5 years. Like, how can I call myself an expert and be posting things? And so we like fall into this trap of feeling like an imposter and having this imposter syndrome. And what Layla talks about that I really like is imposter syndrome isn't really real, I think is the way that she phrases it. It's not real. What you're feeling and what you are observing in yourself is just an experience. It's this feeling of, I've never done this before, so I'm not like 100% sure how it works. And you think it's this imposter syndrome, like you're not good enough, but it's really just inexperience. And I think it's very similar to when we all started like working in a clinic, or even like back in school when we were doing clinicals and working with patients. We always had like our first patient or like our first time with a certain diagnosis, and we didn't have the experience to back up the actions that we were taking, but we tried. We had to try in order to pass school and in order to keep our jobs. Like, you had to try. And through like the whole process of trying and exploring and learning, you gained experience to the point where I'm sure with certain clients now and certain diagnoses, maybe you don't feel like an expert, but you feel confident in being able to treat those things. And it's the same thing with all of these like marketing skills as well, is where you're at right now. You're not an imposter. You're just inexperienced, and that's okay. That's where everybody starts. And you are going to gain confidence by taking action and gaining experience and learning rather than just letting yourself stay stuck in feeling like an imposter and like allowing yourself to stay inexperienced when you have the opportunity to practice and gain experience to help yourself gain confidence. I thought that was a really cool way that she put it, that imposter syndrome, it's not necessarily that, it's just a lack of confidence from a lack of experience. And you have control over gaining experience, and then the confidence will follow. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. I know for me, like, that made me feel a lot better for sure. So I have a few questions here that I wrote down that are like common questions that our students ask us in the program and that I hear from other clinicians online as they're first getting into their own practice. And so I wanted to kind of share my like quick opinions on those with you as well, and we'll save those for the end. But the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get into like three major, I guess, like limiting beliefs around creating content and talk about ways to address them. First problem that tends to come up is, I don't know enough to post. So coming off of like our discussion there on imposter syndrome, I only went to school, grad school for several years. I've only been a therapist for 5 years. I only have like 6 letters after my name. Like, how could I possibly know enough to post? And here's the thing is that, like, I think we get into a place where, like, you've studied the human body, you've studied your profession for so long now that it all feels like second nature. And you probably feel like, oh yeah, like this is stuff that everybody knows, but that's just not true. Like, you know way more than you think, and you also know more than your ideal client. Like, you are a person with a lot of experience, a lot of education, and you have a lot to share with your clients. Even if your clients are familiar with some of the things that you can help them with, it always helps to have a guide, to have a coach, to have another set of eyes looking at the problem and helping somebody figure out how to create a solution. And you don't have to wait until you feel like you're an expert to start making content. You just need to know a thing, like one thing more than your ideal client, and you can share that with them. You don't have to wait until you're an expert. You can get started today because you do know a little bit more than you think you do. So if you are finding yourself saying, I don't know how, like, I don't know enough to post, I don't know what to post, just start off by answering FAQs that you hear from patients. And this could be your own private clients, this could be clients in the clinic. But what kind of questions do you typically answer for people on a regular basis? Or what kind of like misconceptions are out there that you feel like you're constantly talking to people about and saying, like, according to the research, this is the correct information on that topic? I know that I talk about that stuff a lot. So, like, that's a great place. Like, you can always consider yourself at first like a reporter. So if like there are people out there talking about like myths around low back pain, and you just saw a research article about something about low back pain, you can create content on what you just found in the research article and report it to your audience. So you also don't need to be somebody who's like always coming up with like your own ideas and takes on things. You can report the research to your audience. Or like I said, start by answering FAQs. And you can also use like super simple explainer posts, like 3 reasons your back pain might not be getting better, why stretching alone won't fix pelvic pain, and just share some information that you might share with a patient on an evaluation. So, patient education. You do know this stuff because you talk to patients about it all the time. And so, the only difference is here is now we're sharing it on social media instead of directly to a person sitting in front of you. It's to the person on the other side of the screen. The first post, too, is always going to be the hardest. Even maybe like the first 5 posts, it's going to feel like a lot. But the confidence is going to come with the repetitions, and start with creating posts that are easy for you to create. Don't worry about it being perfect. Don't worry about it being like, I don't know, the best created post ever, or like it being the most popular. We just have to start with small reps that are super easy and go from there. So, problem number 2 that we might run into: what if people judge me? They're going to. I promise they will. Most people are just not going to care. But there are going to be people that judge you, and it is what it is. And I think like if you go into it with the expectation that like, yeah, it's going to happen, you're not going to be surprised if and when it does. But you have to face the decision in front of you that you have the option to either post things online and get into digital marketing and share yourself online, knowing that there probably is going to be judgment, or people just aren't going to care, with the hopes of reaching your ideal clients and your patients on the other end that need you, by the way. Like, they don't know that you exist right now, and they need somebody like you in order to help them. So you have to build the bridge in order to get to them through sharing your business, posting content, building a relationship, and eventually reaching them and talking to them. That's option 1. Or, like, you can let yourself sink into this feeling of, I'm terrified that people are going to judge me, so I'm just not going to post anything. I'm not going to share anything, and nobody's ever going to know about my business. And accept the fact that the patients who need you right now are never going to learn about you and never going to get the help that they want. Like, that's really what's on the table here. Like, and we're talking about like just posting things on social media. And I feel like the difference in like intensity and severity of those two things is quite different. It sounds quite drastic to put it that way, but that's really what is on the line. Like the consequence of you not putting yourself out there as a practice owner is that your patients or patients that are out there that need you right now are not going to get the help and not going to get the healthcare that they need. And so I don't know about you, but when I put it that way to myself, I'm like, yeah, let me go ahead and put up this little tiny post on Instagram. And it's probably not the best thing, but I know for sure that there are women out there who need this education on pelvic health. And that's something that I can control. It's something that I can take action on today and I can put it out there. Problem number three, I'm not good at being on camera. Well, guess what? I don't think I'm that great at being on camera. Like I have this little baby like setup in my office and I talk to the camera, I talk to YouTube, I talk to you guys on the podcast and just record and talk about all kinds of things. And it's fine. It serves our purpose. And when I first started like creating videos too, they weren't great. Like if you want to go back and look in the archives back in like whatever, like 2021, it was probably like, I don't know, like 480p on a webcam or something like that. The quality of the video wasn't that great. The setup wasn't that great. The sound wasn't that great. But I knew I had to get information out there and I had to reach people who needed help. So I went for it. And something that has always like really helped me is kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, where like I set the bar for my video production on the floor so low that, like I just started creating videos and the quality was not great. Wasn't that great to talking to the camera, but I had to put something out there. And so now, like, yeah, we've upgraded the camera, we've upgraded the microphone, the background is fine. Like the production has gone up maybe 2 inches compared to where it first started. And I made it easy for myself to do because if I made it more complex than this, it would become very quickly too overwhelming for me. And I just would never make videos because it would be too much. It would feel like too much of a hassle. And then I just wouldn't do it. And I wouldn't be able to talk to you. But we set the bar so low so that it is easy for me to make these videos and put myself out there, even if it's not perfect. And so that's one thing to make it easier. If you feel like you're not good at being on camera, yeah, you probably aren't. Neither are a lot of us, and it's okay. But you can also use tools like I'm reading off of notes right here. You guys can see my eyes looking over here. Sometimes I do an okay job just talking directly to the camera and talking about things. Other times I use an outline and I read off of my outline to make it easier for myself to share information. You can also use different softwares that are teleprompters. Like I tried that the other day with some of the Instagram reels that I make. I use a teleprompter software on my phone as well. It kind of just depends on what I'm trying to do. And something else that you could also do on social media is like most social medias have options to create a story. So like Instagram stories. Those you could always try those out first. Like if you're like really intimidated to create a short form video, like a reel on Instagram, you can do stories instead because they disappear after 24 hours. And so like if you like really hate it, like it's going to be gone in a second. And so we don't have to like fully make the commitment, but you can use it to practice. Those are like a few things I hope that will help. And some of the other questions that I have gotten rapid fire answers here. How do I figure out what to post? We talked about this a little bit before. Start off with FAQs and things that you talk to patients about a lot, or think about like different like patient education segments that maybe you've had with clients in the past week. Like what are different things that you've educated people on recently? What if someone calls me out for saying something wrong? Yeah, they might. Probably will. I feel like this happens a lot more when your audience is much bigger. When you're first getting started, probably not really going to happen. And if they point out that, say, like the research that you're quoting was incorrectly quoted, if they're right, great. Just say thanks for the correction. Let me create a new piece of content correcting that information. And if they leave a comment that's rude, like you can always delete the comment. Like it might happen. But I think when your audience is still pretty small, it doesn't happen as often. Most people who are going to be following you when you're first getting started are family and friends who want to support you. I hate being on camera. What are my options? Well, we already talked about a little bit on how to make it a little bit easier to be on camera. I think in the way that digital marketing is going now, you don't really have a choice. You have to be on camera. And so I would just say take baby steps. And the reason that you have to be on camera is because, like, especially if you're doing an online business, people have to be able to have like a way to see you, hear you, read your body language, and see if they vibe with you and see if they trust you. If you aren't doing any photos, any videos at all, it's really hard to do business with a person who you don't know, like, or trust. And so, like, that's a big reason why I started making these YouTube videos and everything is so that for everybody who I'm just building a relationship with online, they can see who I am, in the way that I am and see if they vibe with it or not. So I think to that question, I hate being on camera. What are my options? Get over it. Sorry. But I think that's all we have to do, and we can just look for ways to make it easier and make it a little bit more approachable so that you can practice and get more confident. What if I sound awkward on camera? Girl, this whole video has been kind of awkward. I don't know if you've noticed, if you've made it this far into this video or this podcast episode. Yeah, it is going to be awkward probably, but it gets better. It gets better with time, and you're going to have some videos that are great. You're going to have some videos that are not so great, and it is what it is. And with practice, it'll get better. With social media, you can also start with maybe like still images and work on your captions first, maybe work on your writing, but then you are going to have to get into video as well. In order to make social media like an actual true effective tool, we have to lean into the way that the platforms want us to use it. And at least at the time of this recording, Instagram wants us to use Reels. So we have to get into the video as well. What if someone criticizes me? This advice is from ChatGPT. Haters don't pay your bills. Focus on helping real clients. So yeah, and we talked about that. People are going to judge. They might criticize. It's kind of part of putting yourself out there, and it might be unpleasant, but we can figure out ways to respond in order to keep moving forward. What if you run out of things to say? You're not going to. I can promise you that. With the invention of ChatGPT, you will always be able to come up with content topics to talk about. And there's even like this trick that you could do too, where if you planned out like an entire year of content, you could just redo the same topics every single year. You don't have to reinvent the wheel and come up with brand new things all of the time. You can always go back and update things that you had talked about previously. And in the DPT to CEO program, we also talk about using a content matrix to help you come up with ideas. So you can always create templates and go from there. So you're not going to run out of stuff to say. Plus, if you're keeping up with continuing education, that's another thing that I would love to do with all of my Con Ed courses is just make content from all of the Con Ed that I'm taking. So you'll always have things to talk about. We've talked about a lot today, and I feel like this is kind of like an inside look to a lot of conversations that I've had with several of our students in our DTC program, just regarding putting yourself out there, whether it is getting started with social media or just in marketing in general. We have to, but there are ways that we can make it a little bit easier and a little bit more approachable in order to help you build confidence along the way. So when it comes to social media and posting, start small. We can use things like text posts and static images. We can do stories. You don't have to be perfect. Go for, I guess, the low-hanging fruit, and just whatever ideas you have, let's use them as an opportunity to practice posting. And then that can be level one, right? As we up level ourselves in our marketing journey, we can always create further strategy. So just get started. And remember, your ideal clients don't expect perfection. They would rather know the real you because they'll trust you more and relate to you more if they know that you're a real person. And lastly, use content templates. Talk to ChatGPT. Google different options for content ideas. So you don't have to always come up with them from your brain. Use the resources available to you to help you with creating content. So, we've talked through the mindset things. I'd love to hear in the comments what your biggest takeaway has been in this video and if there's anything else you want me to cover. But now that we've got our minds right, in the upcoming videos in this series, we're going to talk more strategy and talk more about like what to post, where to post, things like that. So if you have any questions, let me know as well. And the next step is to start turning your social media into a real client getting machine. So if you are serious about growing your cash-based practice, growing your business, and a life that you love, and you want some help, I would love to have you apply to our DPT to CEO coaching program, which is now a 7-month program to take you from starting from scratch to growing your own cash-based solo practice, 10 plus clients within the 7 months and setting yourself up for success. So the link to that will be in the description below. I'd love to hear from you. And like I said, if you have any questions, let me know. But otherwise, I'll see you on the next video.